Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join us here for our weekly education series. We're really excited about today as we have another guest. A guest we're very excited to have with us, Amir Hessabi from BigCommerce. And we're going to jump in and get right to it. So my name is Jared Hackbart. I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing here at Brilliance. Been here for a little over 4 years and just have a true passion in regards to supporting businesses in the manufacturing and distribution space and helping them digitally figure out their digital presence. And it's been a pleasure to be at Brilliance and help solve those problems. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my boss, our CEO and founder, Lori McDonald.
Hi, it's fun to be here. I'm excited about this conversation today. I'll just give you a little bit of background on myself and Brilliance, and then we'll let Amir tell you about himself. But I started Brilliance a little more than 20 years ago. I went to Purdue in computer electrical engineering and ended up with an internship at NASA at Johnson Space Center, where I eventually worked as a flight controller for the space shuttle program, which was an amazing experience. I ended up meeting my husband at NASA. He also was in engineering, also worked as a flight controller for the space shuttle program, and eventually he went to work for Rockwell Automation, which brought us to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And when we relocated here in 1998, I was trying to figure out what could be as cool as space. And so I decided to start a web development company. The web was in its infancy, and we ended up focusing with a niche in B2B e-commerce. So over the last 20 years, we've grown. My husband left his job at Rockwell 9 years ago, and now he leads our development team. And so really our focus as an organization is on helping manufacturers and distributors leverage digital commerce to grow their businesses. And so that kind of leads us to the conversation we're going to have today, and we're really excited to be joined here by Amir, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Awesome. Well, I am way less impressive than Lori for sure, but my name is Amir Hessabi. I'm one of the enterprise solutions engineers at BigCommerce. I'm based in Austin. Really awesome day today. Actually, we've had some great weather in Austin these days. Less cars. It's been great. But happy to be here. We're super excited to be with you guys on your weekly webinar. I'm super excited to talk about B2B. I've been at BigCommerce for about 3.5 years now as an employee, and I actually was a customer of BigCommerce before coming to BigCommerce. I worked for a B2B company in Dallas-Fort Worth area that they actually sold the paper to the license plates. When you buy a car, you get a license plate paper printed on. They sold that paper to all the dealerships in Texas. So they had a B2B site on BigCommerce. I helped set up, move it from Yahoo Commerce actually to BigCommerce. So it was a really awesome experience and led me working at BigCommerce.
Amir, I was just hoping you could kind of share with us at a high level what the approach that BigCommerce has really taken to meeting those needs of manufacturers and distributors in the B2B space.
Yeah, happy to do that. And thanks, Jared, for bringing that up. Really, what we want to create at BigCommerce is this sweet spot for any merchant, right? Whether it is that you want to do business-to-business sales or you wanted to do direct-to-consumer sales, you have the flexibility of doing that. So if we go back, let's say 20, 30 years when really internet started and we figured out how to sell on the internet, you had the open source end of things where you got the code base, you had the ability to fully customize it, modify it, but you had the liability of security, the uptime, the maintenance of it, the cost that it came with all of that. But you really owned what you built, right? That had flexibility that you needed, but you had all of those cumbersome things, the versioning, the actual updates and patches that came out. Then fast forward 10 years later, you have these SaaS platforms, multi-tenant software as a service solutions that came about and gave some of the baseline. So that's where BigCommerce started. We started on the far right end of this spectrum where we gave the basics to a small business merchants to get up and running quickly and not have to deal with all of the nitty gritty of hosting and technical details. But over the past 5 years, we've really been pushed towards this middle ground by some of the larger businesses that are looking at BigCommerce and are looking at our set of APIs that we've created that essentially gives them the capability of really having the same benefit of customization that they could have on the flexible platform like a Magento or a Hybris or an ATG type of environment, but at the same time leverage the multi-tenant SaaS architecture, right? The ability that it comes with a CDN, that it's hosted on Google Cloud, right? That they don't have to worry about its uptime because it comes with a service level agreement. And that's why we're really trying to create at BigCommerce.
Why would a manufacturer and distributor feel good about selecting BigCommerce as their platform?
Great question. So for a manufacturer, what's really important, right, is the ability to have control with the different relationships that they have, right? Different manufacturers might have different types of distributors that buy from them, right? They might also be selling maybe to some of the larger retailers that might be buying from them directly, right? And all of these relationships are different. To Lori's point, they might have different users that have different buying powers, right? And in the traditional internet world, right, we used to have a separate portal where we gave them this really clunky experience. And as these buyers are getting younger, right, they're not really down with that, right? They want it on their phone, they want it quickly, they want to be able to put a credit card on file just like they would with Amazon, and that's what we're trying to offer as part of that experience. Really, the ease of use, because there's nothing wrong with a B2B buyer, right? It's okay to give them a nice, easy to use experience as well.
What would you say are some ways that manufacturers and distributors can improve efficiency in their buying process, leveraging BigCommerce as a tool set?
I mean, there's a lot of things that a manufacturer or a distributor can do, right? In a traditional sense, you might have a sales rep that's going from a retail store to a retail store and carrying product and is doing it in-person sales, right? Maybe that's not doable now, right? There are ways for that person to still send out quotes, to still solicit payment, to send somebody a checkout link, right? Because they already know what they want to order, right? So those are the things that you can, the contactless payments, right? And these are the things that you're able to mitigate and still continue the sales, right? Instead of disrupting your business and thinking, well, I can't sell my sales reps out, so I can't take sales, right? That the times change, and you have to have a system that allows you to adapt to it, not have to go through a major customization to do something, and that's going to take you 6 months, and the pandemic is already over, you know? So ability to really quickly turn on things. If it's an app, you can quickly turn it on with BigCommerce, whereas on an open source environment, you're going to have to do development and regression testing to make sure it works with your version, and if it's worked with the other plugins that you have. So that agility is what we're really focusing on here, right? Being able to, as things happen in real time, adjust your business so that you can take advantage of the fortunate or the unfortunate situations. You know, it's business. It doesn't have emotions in it at times, right? But so you have to make sure that you can keep it very relevant and adaptive to what's happening.
Yeah, and I would add to that features like quick order or reordering from order history. You know, the ability for sales reps to, you know, impersonate a customer, which I know is part of it, some of the add-ons, extensions for BigCommerce. Coming back to what Amir was saying, the idea of making your sales team more efficient and also empowering your customers while also, you know, leveraging digital in a time when we have less capability to be in person. So all of those things are just win-win all around, and help you to be seen as an innovator in your market.
We commonly get asked for self-serve features in the B2B space and the manufacturing distribution space. I guess, could you start with a couple of those features specifically that we hear about, those self-serve features, and then maybe speak to why those features are, or why the idea of self-serve is so important to our manufacturers and distributors out there?
One I hear a lot about is we commonly get requests for multiple users per account. where in a business setting, you've got multiple buyers potentially. And sometimes you'll have an internal user at a company who will be setting up those other users or controlling those other users. And, so that's a feature that's available through Bundle B2B. That's an extension for BigCommerce. So, those are one of the ways that you can have some self-service options. I mean, even something as simple as customers being able to see their own pricing and inventory, is a way they can serve themselves, not have to call a salesperson.
Absolutely, yeah. To add on to that, there's a lot of simple things that folks don't realize that it's available for them, right? We have a lot of manufacturers and B2B businesses that don't show products at all to the public, right? That fully lock that down just because there's no interest in doing that. If they do that, they might be competing with some of their actual customers, right? So the ability to really just lock it down and truly offer that experience that's individualized, just like Lori was mentioning behind the login, is something that we see all the time. And then to add on to that is the special pricing, but not just special pricing at the parent level, but at the variant level, but even in multi-currencies. So just because we have the ability of transacting in multiple currencies on the platform, and you can define the exact rate that you want to transact for each of the products, each of the variants that you're transacting. Maybe you're doing wholesale in Canada and the US, right? And your Canadian customers need to settle in Canadian dollars. You have the ability of exactly defining how much it will be, and you're not working with a conversion rate, right? Because in those B2B cases, right, you need an exact price. You also need to calculate freight exactly correctly, right? So it all comes down to really making sure that's all accounted for and is personalized to that contract or to that negotiated relationship, and you can define it down to the variant level.
As we've mentioned a little bit earlier, is this idea of supporting speed to market and time to value, and how incredibly important they are right now. And they should always be, but we're all feeling it right now. What are some ways that you can get a new site launched as quickly as possible on BigCommerce?
You can have sites live on BigCommerce within a week, but what's really important, right, is you having the data. The data is really where things, I think, fall short when it comes to launching a site, and having your product info, having the prices appropriate for the online experience, but the ability for you to bulk upload those to not have to go and reinvent the wheel, the cart, and the checkout, and all of those specific pieces, those are already in place, right? So as long as you have your products, as long as you connect your payment gateways and other pieces, right? Those are fairly quick things to sign into and log into or make accounts with, and get a site up and running. If it's just meant to be, something quick that you want to get up and running, right? I'm not talking about an ERP integration, or I'm not talking about fully integrating to other systems, but that also would be shorter with BigCommerce than it would be with an open source platform, right? Because there's a lot of plugins and connectors and pre-built solutions that we can position and help you find and identify that meet your specific requirements, so that you can get up and live fairly quickly. We've had B2B cases that went from nothing to an entire site within a month and a half, and they were a fully manufacturing company. But what was important is that they had their product data, they already had photos, and they already had SKUs and everything made up.
Yeah, that data piece is so important. To me, it's all a matter of limiting scope and determining what's the most important to you. So if speed is really important to you, are there some other things that you can say, well, right now we're not going to go through a rebranding effort as a part of the site launch, sticking with a theme that exists, and yes, customizing it to your, brand, but trying to limit how much design work's happening in an effort to get something live quickly. There are just choices that can be made to help support you getting something up and running fast, and then incrementally improving on it later, which is one of the beauties that I think exists with a platform like BigCommerce.
Having the right mindset is certainly important, but having a tool like BigCommerce to support you is also equally as important. So that's great. in regards to getting things off the ground quickly. Can you guys touch on a few third-party apps and plugins that would allow you to achieve features faster than other avenues?
Yeah, I mean there's a lot of different sets of tools, and what you see in our marketplace is all vetted, regression tested to make sure that they're working well, they're not breaking things. In the B2B realm, there's a couple of tools that we see quite often. Bundle B2B, like you mentioned, right? They specifically made their tool for BigCommerce, and there's a lot of other niche type of apps that are built for BigCommerce specifically that essentially give a subset of customers subset of tools that they only need to use, and they install it on their instance, and it unlocks those pieces of functionality that they need. But outside of that, there's another tool called Skynamo. This is a field sales rep app that if there are sales reps that are going out there and taking orders, they're able to take the orders on their mobile phones. But it also gives you control over actually monitoring those sales reps, right? Are they actually going there? How much on the road are they spending, and what type of orders are they taking? So it has a lot of good analytics about your sales force, and it integrates fully with BigCommerce. And it really uses us as the source of truth when it comes to the database of the orders and the customer details. And then one more that I would mention is there's a set of tools built by Intuit Solutions that kind of just add on little things, right? And that hiding a payment type between a customer group, or some nuances for high risk products. They have a excise tax plugin that you can add on for tobacco or Prop 65 in California. So a few of those tools are really handy to be able to just plug in and not have to go through a full customization.
Yeah, that's great. And a few that we often run into, although they are not B2B specific, is Shipper HQ for shipping, and I know there are other shipping integrations and extensions that are out there, and Avalara for sales tax. And again, there are other sales tax providers out there, but those are add-ons that make things easier for companies that may have more sophisticated shipping requirements or tax. So.
For sure, shipping is really, really important for B2B, specifically, when we talk about freight or LTL, and having Shipper HQ as part of the enterprise plan of BigCommerce, or their essentials plan included within the BigCommerce enterprise, it really unlocks the quickly integrating to your LTL provider and getting that real-time rate, which a lot of people don't have. A lot of B2B customers, and it actually blows my mind that a lot of B2B merchants today are still calculating shipping after the order has been placed, right?
Yeah.
So the shopper placing the order actually has no idea what shipping could cost, right? How many of those shoppers are moving away and not doing it because they didn't see shipping, right? So having that real-time shipping calculation, I think, is one of the biggest things. As a shopper, if I don't see the shipping, I mean, if it's not free shipping, I actually don't buy. But I'm kidding. But you get the idea, right? Shipping is an additional cost for the shopper, right? And if you can show them that it could save them money, I think it's a really great indicator to actually convert that cart.
We know manufacturers and distributors, the three of us having been in this space, they have tens of thousands of SKUs and tons of product data to manage. Have you seen companies leveraging product information management software to save time to improve the experience of their digital commerce site?
Yeah, a lot. So product information managers give you something that really nobody else does. And what that really is that report of completion. So back to the data that we were talking about, right? Some of them call it a readiness report, and some call it completion report. And really, this is a way of standardizing or really creating a blueprint of your data. So let's say you're an automotive merchant, right? And you're selling auto parts. You have fitment data, and you have any brand data, and like a lot of other specs that you have along with your product, right? Well, you don't want to have a tire on the website that doesn't have those information on it, right? So these type of tools allow you to control that huge set of data points that you have. Like, you might have 60, 70, 80,000 SKUs that you're managing, and controlling those different attributes that are all around, I think it would be really cumbersome. And we have no intention of doing that. We're focusing on the e-commerce side. We're going to have fields that you're going to be able to store those into BigCommerce, but we're not going to give you the data governance part of it, right? Where you can actually monitor your data, see how healthy it is, and if you need to do some work and complete your data before you're pushing it to any of your digital channels. That also allows you to centralize the data. So a lot of these PIM solutions or product information managers allow you to synchronize your data with marketplaces, right? So if you're selling on eBay Motors or if you're selling on Amazon, they could send that product data out to those systems so that you're not doing a lot of copy and paste or CSV imports with each of those individual marketplaces in the formats that they understand, right? Because each one has its own format as well.
Yes, we have become huge fans at Brilliance. Lori, I don't know if you want to add into it of PIM solutions. We have a few partnerships. There's a lot of great ones out there.
Yeah.
We know BigCommerce has some pre-built integrations with a few that we've looked into and seen some very exciting things there. So
yeah, well, and it's just such a common pain point for companies that we talk to in terms of managing their product data and their product catalogs, and making it easy for their internal product managers to get data out to their website. So I think PIM systems are a really great benefit to companies on the whole.
we had one come in around B2B for the aerospace industry. I'm going to start with that one because I know that, Amir, you have an example you can talk to here. So let me pull that up.
Yeah, happy to. So we've actually been doing B2B for quite a while at BigCommerce. And one of the companies that started doing business to business with us was General Electric back in 2015 or so. And they launched about 9 sites with BigCommerce. And now, they have a few more sites of theirs on the platform. And 2 really big sites that was super interesting they launched on BigCommerce was one, their locomotive parts site, and that they actually sold off to another company. But then their GE Aviation Clearview website, which is the Aerospace site that they have with us. This site uses a single sign-on to actually log the customers into the GE and corporate network, because this is for the different contractors and special folks that have access to buying engine parts, because I probably am not qualified to buy any engine parts, or make a payment for one for that matter. So once you log in, they're leveraging the customer groups, the price lists within BigCommerce to give you specific products that are relevant to you. So based on the contracts that you have a specific list of products that you essentially have access to because you bought this specific engine type, and that engine type comes with a categories of parts that you can probably purchase from, right? And you get access to that entire list, and you can add additional items that you'd like to on the next order, and actually make payments as well. So they're using net term payments and offline payments and other type of payments on the site. They actually have some customization with their back office system to do POs and send the purchase order numbers along with the order that they've done at checkout as well.
Lori, so in the COVID area, are you seeing more or less on the same amount of B2B opportunities in commerce?
Yeah, well, I'm curious how you would answer that question, Jared, too. I mean, from my perspective, I think I see an increase in conversations and around what organizations can be doing, and certainly customers who, both people who are already doing some things with respect to their digital commerce, but see a need to either pivot in terms of what products they're selling online to some new products they're selling, or who weren't previously really leveraging digital and see the need to make the move to that quickly. Yeah, but it also varies depending on industry, but yeah.
Sure, yeah, and I'd also love to hear Amir's side of things as well. We certainly, I think when it first took place, we definitely saw a little bit of a slowdown, but people seem to be picking up quite rapidly in in the last few weeks, looking to take advantage of an opportunity right now and get their digital commerce in place. So it's been positive lately.
Yeah, we are seeing some crazy numbers, to be honest with you. Our vice president of product marketing, Megan Stabler, she's putting out a lot of like analysis weekly by weekly, so that we have all the different trends on the different verticals. So I won't butcher those numbers for you here off the top of my head, but there's a lot of really interesting metrics that are coming out. So in the beginning, there was a lot of uptake on some very specific verticals, like home goods and some fitness equipment that we saw that was having a pretty big uptake, especially on the B2B side, and not just the shopper GMV side, gross merchant volume. But it was really interesting to see that these businesses that are traditionally just like, having sales reps that are going out and selling these gym equipments are now really trying to make sure that they have an online presence, that they can refer those people that used to buy from them in person to actually come in and buy online. We're seeing a lot of people on the small business side. We're seeing it a lot because for us, small business is really people that are not selling online in terms of the revenue wise, and we look at like up to 10 million offline in terms of a small business. And there's a lot of businesses out there that that are offline and that are quickly trying to get that bare minimum thing right at least launched, so that they have their catalog online for for people to look at it, and then slowly adding their prices, the group prices in there, which has been pretty interesting just to kind of see these different businesses evolve. But yeah, we didn't really necessarily have like a slowdown per se, because platform is just a little bit different. But yeah, we did see a lot of uptake on new business that's looking to just get online that haven't been online before.
How can B2B enterprises rationalize data, product data, pricing, etc., across channels, tech stacks, and ecosystems?
My answer to that would be back to the PIM software would be your best approach to have a centralized place that you're organizing your data and that you're able to distribute that across multiple systems. And there are some really good different offerings for PIM in the BigCommerce marketplace that exist out there for extensions. So.
Absolutely. And I would add to that, it really just depends on what you're selling, right? If you're selling 1 or 2 widgets, right, then you may not need a PIM.
Sure.
But if you have a large catalog, and which most enterprise merchants do, right, then you definitely need something. And it may not just be a PIM, right? It may be a PIM that also does listings for you, because you also want to sell onto marketplaces. So we'd love to understand those details, and that's part of what I do, is help understand those and find the right solution within the marketplace that can accommodate those needs. So we'd love to chat with you if you're in that spot.
As Amir said, I think both BigCommerce and Brilliance here as well, we'd be happy to have conversations with you to figure out, if we can help you find a solution that would fit within the BigCommerce system. And we appreciate Amir's time joining us today. It was a lot of fun having you.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Thank you again for attending, and take care.